Welcome to All Things Chiropractic.
Welcome to a special episode of All Things Chiropractic. I'm Paul Andrews.
Well, aren't all our episodes special?
Yeah, super special, especially with you in them.
There we go. So see, this is a special.
Who are you?
Dr. Mark Davini.
There it is. Woo, okay. So today we're going to be talking about this large, very large antitrust litigation, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and potential class action settlement. There's been a lot of noise about this. We wanted to do a special episode just to get to a little of the nitty gritty because we've gotten a ton of questions about this. And I'm going to say right off the bat, don't think you're going to retire off of this money.
I mean, the way class action suits work are that they, you end up with some of these primary people who file a lawsuit on behalf of a class, which is everybody. And what happens with the lawsuits when they come up with these settlements are a certain percentage of the settlement obviously goes to the attorneys, and it's usually a pretty large percentage of the settlement goes to the attorneys, and then a greater percentage goes, not a greater than the attorneys, but a larger percentage goes to the primaries who the lawsuit is named under, and then the class gets a smaller percentage of that. So there's this sort of tiered payout of the monies, just so you'll understand. So when we talk about all these large numbers, remember there's a attorney at the top of the heap, there's the primaries underneath that, and then there's the class.
While we're talking about the money, so let's just talk quickly about some numbers. So the potential settlement here is $2.8 billion.
With a
billion. Now, before you get too excited, chiropractors, physical therapists out there, professionals, of the $2.8 billion, I did the math on this. The attorneys their fee is going to be up to, which means probably the max, 25%. So they're going to see $700 million of the 2.8.
Good day's work.
That doesn't include the additional $100 million that they can get back in expenses.
Expenses, yes. That's not covering their costs. That's just their cut.
This has been a 10-year litigation, so I'm not saying they don't deserve some money, but just realize out of the $2.8 billion, probably the full $800 million is going to go to the attorneys. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, of that settlement, whatever's left there, 92% of it is going to the hospitals that make claims.
Right.
92%.
What was it? $244 million will go to the actual providers.
$224 million.
224.
Or 8% will go to every single professional provider or group across the entire nation that makes a claim.
Remember, this is not a chiropractic lawsuit. This is for everybody who renders services under the carrier.
So we're talking about not a lot of money. I mean, who knows? Because they have to, we'll talk about how you make your claim through this class action settlement. But once they determine the amount of claimants, the amount of potential money, then they do the math and divide it by what's there for resources.
Right. And a lot of it's based on the services you rendered. So some will receive more, some will receive less. So, you have a large practice that carries that particular carrier for sure, Blue Cross Blue Shield carrier. Yours will be a bigger payout than someone else who has very little Blue Cross Blue. So it's not going to be an equal distribution is what we're saying.
Right. So what is this all about? I'll give you just sort of, we'll go over the basics of this litigation. So a class action lawsuit was Blue Cross Blue Shield antitrust litigation. And it really goes down to the allegations of that Blue Cross violated antitrust laws by creating these service areas and these agreements between all the Blues across the country to not compete in these service areas. And so that created this artificial territory, so to speak. And what it did was it created this collusion, I'll use that word, between all the Blue Cross Blue Shields across the country to not be competitive with each other. And so that is really the crux of it. It also has to do with price fixing. as well. So if they're going to collude about territory, why not collude about what the reimbursement is too, right?
And remember, this is a settlement, so nobody is necessarily admitting to anything.
Right.
And we don't know what the disclosures will be when the final paperwork comes in. So we're not saying that they are admitting to that Blue Cross Blue Shield is admitting to these things. We're saying that those were the allegations. And because of those allegations, they've decided to settle this class action suit.
Before Blue Cross wants to sue us for these
Exactly.
allegations that we're making.
Right. So we're not saying that Blue Cross has admitted anything yet.
Right.
Except that they want to negotiate a settlement.
And usually all these settlements come with this lack of admission, right?
That's right.
At the end of the day.
Or this gag order type of thing or whatever. We don't know yet. That's down the road.
So now you've got the allegations which stemmed with the potential settlement. The time period is pretty large. It's like 16 years. It goes from July 24th, 2008 to October 4th, 2024. And those are service dates. You've seen any patients from July 24th, 2008 all the way through to October 4th, 2024. You could be a member of this class and make a professional claim submission.
Right.
Now,
exactly.
The attorney firm for the plaintiff has done some webcasts on how to make these particular claims. You can, and we encourage you to go on to bcbsprovidersettlement.com where you can see more information about all this and register for one of the webcasts. Chiropractors, physical therapists, non-hospitals, non-skilled nursing, things like that. If you file a claim on a CMS 1500, let's put it that way, you're going to do a professional claim. So on the website, when you submit a claim, it's going to be a professional claim. Whether you're an individual provider or you are with a group of providers, if you're using a 1500 as opposed to a UB40, you're doing a professional.
So no matter what other laws are in effect, you are not a facility under this circumstance.
Right.
You are a professional.
Right. Don't get confused by facilities claims thinking, well, I'm a chiropractic facility because I have more than one chiropractor here. No. For the standard by which you will submit, just say, what claim form do I use when I submit? It's a 1500. I'm a professional claim. From there, and there is a guide on their website. It's very helpful that you can use from them on this. So if you're doing this as a group, then you would file as a group, and then within the claim form electronically you're filling out, you would then put in each provider in your group, and then they're using this points system. So when you're doing your claims, they're going to ask you how much in Blue Cross allowables do you think you had in that time period, that 16 years?
16 years.
You know what I mean? I mean, like, what?
Yeah. And therein lies the work.
Yeah. So now you can ballpark this. They're not saying you can't.
Right.
And they use points system. So if it's less than $250,000 in that 16-year time span, or roughly 16 years, you get 1 point. If it's between $250,000 and $500,000 in allowables. Now, the allowables means what Blue Cross would have allowed, not what they paid, because we know that patient responsibilities, co-pays, co-insurance, deductibles get taken out of the allowable. Yeah, and not your clinic fee, what the allowable would have been. Now you're saying to yourself, how am I going to possibly know this? Now, good question. A lot of people are asking that. My answer to you is you're probably not, unless you take a lot of time, probably more time than you have to file this claim. And ballparking is okay, because guess who does know this? Blue Cross and Blue Shield does know. So trust me, they'll be checking this. So if you're filing as an individual, just ballpark in that almost 16 years, how much do I think I have in allowables for Blue Cross in that entire time? Now, this is Blue Cross. Now, you have to exclude any federal plans. That's not part of this. The claims instructions in the webcast will go through this more specifically. We're not here to teach you every little detail about this today. We're just here to talk to you about it, because if you don't know, you're going to want to get on this bcbsprovidersettlement.com website, and you're going to want to make your claim. Now, beyond figuring out your allowables, on their end, they have what's called a harm coefficient for geographical areas. You don't have to figure this out. Good news for you. This is what they're going to do on their end. Once they get your claim, and they get the thousands of claims that come in, they're going to verify allowables, then look at this harm coefficient based on where you practice or practiced geographically, and they'll come up with a payment formula. Now, how you get paid is part of the claim submission. You can opt for a paper check. You can do an ACH. You can do Venmo. There are certain limits as far as how much money can be paid out on some of these platforms. So be aware of that. Look at the instructions first so that you know that, if I'm a big group, I've got, a couple of clinics, I've got, 5 doctors. That's been a long time. I might be due some money. So I don't want to restrict myself by picking a form of payment that's not going to be able to be enough. Now, one of the questions that I saw on there under the FAQs, which was a good one, is I retired. I'm no longer in business. My corporation's been closed. How does that affect anything? Their answer was a very lawyer answer. We can't really advise you, but we do recommend you make the claim because you still have a claim, I'm
not going to tell you, but we're going to tell you.
Yeah. So if you end up getting paid out to a tax ID that's closed, that's between you and your accountant as far as you want to handle that. But don't leave the money on the table. We still don't know how much it's going to be. But what we do know is that once you make this claim, which you have to make the claim by July 29th of this year, 2025, they're going to process for the rest of the year all of this data. And somewhere in the first quarter of 2026, they anticipate releasing the funds if the judge, of course, approves the whole thing.
So would you, in everything that you've seen, would you advise people to be doing this? Do you think it's a good thing to put your name in?
I think so. I'm no
to
lawyer.
Me,
you can opt out of this settlement if you want. There's instructions on doing that. But to me,
you're not going in any adverse database that people might be afraid of. Oh, I'm putting my name in. I don't want to do anything. Yes.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, this was a surprise to a lot of us. So whatever amount it is, it's sort of found money,
Right.
Whether Blue Cross changes their alleged behavior or not, based on this, we don't know.
So it's worth it.
Yeah.
To at least get to this, go past this step.
Right. Because there isn't, other than trying to ballpark the allowable, which is probably the most challenging part of all this, you don't have to provide any supportive material unless you say, well, I'm going to go for the whole kit and caboodle. I'm going to put the maximum down.
Yeah.
Well, if you were to put the maximum down, that's what they may call an outlier. Mm-hmm. And they may reach out to you. This is the attorney firm that's handling all this. They may reach out to you and ask you to prove it. And that's where it's like, okay, well, if I said 5 points, which is more than $1 million in allowables in a chiropractic office over 16 years, could it be possible?
Yeah.
Sure. Now, if you underestimate, what will they give you less? I don't know. That's a good question. Nothing in there.
Remember,
says
there
that.
is a fixed amount of money that's going to be distributed to the professionals based upon the geographic area and the point systems and everything that Paul just described, which means that if I give you too much, I may run out of money before I am able to pay this person over here the proper amount. So there will be scrutiny here is what we're saying. It's not just, I told them how much I do and that's the end of that. Like Paul said, be careful about being in the higher tiers if you can't substantiate it.
Right. Because if you think that's true, then start gathering all of your remittance advices over the last 16 years to prove it, because you might be asked to do that. And I'm not saying it wouldn't be worth it. But again, don't think, well, if I put down that my allowables were more than $1 million, I should be getting $1 million. Dr. Davini said there's only so much money to go around the entire nation. 8% right, of the net settlement. So really, when we use that figure, I'm probably wrong on my math because that 2.8 billion, we have to subtract 800 million first,
Right.
and then do the 8%.
And again, they only estimate 124 million of it will go to professionals. And we're talking about tens of thousands, if not
More.
over 100,000 more professionals, all MDs, all DCs, all PTs, all DOs, all NPs. I mean, these are all people, across the country who have billed through the Blue Cross Blue Shield system, which we all know is the most popular and extensive in the country. So, yeah, it's a lot of money, or it sounds like a lot of money, but not when you do the math.
Right. But don't leave your money on their table.
Right. Then you just give it to someone else.
Yeah. So go to bcbsprovidersettlement.com. You can sign up for their webcasts on how to make a claim. You can download their claim instruction form. You can look at their entire FAQ to answer questions we can't answer. And you can see what is the substance of this actual litigation, alleged wrongdoing by the Blues, and what you may or may not be able to yield from that. And they are responsive because when I attended the webcast, I put in a question or two via chat. They didn't have time to answer it live, but they did send me an email after the fact with my answers. So it was really, they're interested in making sure that, the claims come in and the damages are shown to be real, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the amount of claimants that are there.
Yeah.
So bcbsprovidersettlement.com for more information on that.
Good luck, everybody.
I hope you got it.
I hope you got it. I hope you at least get a great vacation out of it.
Yeah, right. A couple cups of coffee, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
That's probably more expensive than a great vacation today. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Good point. Well, thank you again for listening to another episode of All Things Chiropractic. I'm Paul Andrews.
And Dr. Mark Davini. Thank you all.
Thanks for listening to All Things Chiropractic. We'd love to hear from you. Visit allthingschiropractic.com with comments, episode ideas, or questions. Or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at All Things Chiropractic Podcast. Be sure to join Dr. Mark Davini and Paul Andrews next time for another episode of All Things Chiropractic.